أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين. We are continuing on today with the 19th flash on frugality, inshallah. We hope to finish it up. And we're going to proceed from page 198, the middle paragraph that starts with also the contentment arising. So, Asfa, whenever you're ready, inshallah, please begin. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Also, the contentment arising from frugality opens the door of thanks and closes the door of complaint. Throughout his life, the contented person is thankful, and insofar as he is independent of others due to his contentment, he does not seek their regard. The door of sincerity is open and the door of hypocrisy closed. I observed the fearsome harm of wastefulness and excess on a broad scale. It was as follows. 9 years ago, I visited a fortunate town. It was winter, and I would not see its sources of wealth. Several times the town's Mufti, may God have mercy on him, said to me, "Our people are poor." His words touched me. The next 5 or 6 years, I felt continual pity for the people of the town. 8 years later, I again visited it in the summer. I looked at the gardens and recalled the words of the late Mufti. "Glory be to God," I exclaimed. "These gardens' crops are far greater than the needs of the town. Its people should be very rich." I was amazed. Then, remembering a truth that has never deceived me and is my guide in understanding other truth, I understood that the abundance and plenty had disappeared due to wastefulness and excess. So that although the town possessed such sources of wealth, the late Mufti used to say, "Our people are poor." Indeed, just as giving zakat and being frugal and economical is proven by experience to be the cause of increase and plenty in goods and possessions, so too innumerable events show that wastefulness and the failure to give zakat cause increase and plenty to be taken away. The Plato of Islamic sages, the Sheikh of physicians, and master of philosophers, the famous genius Abu Ali ibn Sina, explained the worst. "Eat and drink, but waste not in excess." Just from the point of view of medicine, as follows, I concentrate the science of medicine in 2 lines. The best word is the shortest. When you eat, eat little, and do not eat again for 4 or 5 hours. Health lies in digestion. That is to say, eat so much as you can digest easily. The heaviest and most tiring thing of your stomach and yourself is to eat many things, one on top of the other. Is there a note? Okay. The note says, that is to say, the most harmful thing for the body is to eat without having had a break of 4 to 5 hours, or to fill the stomach with a variety of foods, one on top of the other, just for the pleasure of it. An extraordinary and instructive coincidence. In all the copies of the treatise on frugality written by 5 or 6 scribes, 3 of whom were inexperienced, who were in different places far from one another, were writing it out from different copies, whose handwriting was all different, and who did not take the alifs 23 into consideration at all. The alifs which coincided numbered 51, or with a prayer, 53. These numbers coincided with the date the treatise on frugality was written and copied, which was 1351 according to the Rumi calendar and 1353 according to the Hijri calendar. Undoubtedly cannot be chance. It is an indication that the blessing of plenty resulting from frugality has risen to the degree of wonderness, and that this year is fit to be named Frugality Year. Indeed, this wonder of frugality was proved 2 years later, during the Second World War, by the widespread hunger, destruction, and waste, and mankind and everyone being compelled to be frugal. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save that which you have taught us. Indeed, you are all-knowing, all-wise. And there's a note, coincidence. The correspondence of letters or words in lines or patterns on one or several pages.
Thank you, Asifa. And that is the end to this chapter on frugality. I don't know, Asifa, if you have anything to share, feel free to do so. If any first impressions, or if you want to hold on to it, it's up to you. Just
Sure, I can go ahead. So while reading it, there's a lot of information there, actually, a lot of stuff going through my mind. But what actually caught my attention was mainly during the practicality of our lives, like when we're eating, and I won't deny it, like, when you see desserts, just like the author here is saying, we tend to top one food on top of the other. We keep eating. I mean, we're making it really heavy on our stomach, and which is really true, because at one point, I think it's what we see, we're like just, oh wow, amazed. You see different dessert, you see a chocolate mousse, you can see apple pie, or you can see creme brulee. I mean, you like all these stuff, and all of a sudden you're not really, I think you're not using your wisdom here, how you just want to indulge everything at once. You're like, oh, let me just have this. So you're having the mousse, the creme brulee, everything one on top of the other. And all of a sudden, once you gulp everything, suddenly you're like, oh my God, my stomach is so full, I can barely get up and walk. Yet at that time, you were like, oh, this is all delicious. Let me just eat everything. So thinking about that, and, in terms of frugality, I was like really thinking, really fullness conscious. And you start just, take one dessert at a time. You're really being conscious, and you're like, wow, who's giving me this taste? This is, awesome. Who's giving me this beautiful bounty that I'm really enjoying? Instead of just like, seeing all this, and then you just want to take all of it all together. So I think frugality comes in when you actually are conscious as well as you're eating, and that, it also satisfies your stomach as well. And that was it so far, but I'm sure I have plenty more. Thank you.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair, Asifa. That was a beautiful reflection. I really started also reflecting on our human behavior. Really, we go on doing everything, like you were saying, indulging in things, or you know, people say mindless eating or anything in general without the consciousness or awareness of who's giving me this sense of taste, or what is the source of existence of you know, the one that's making me experience all this or providing me with all this. So yeah, thank you. These were great remarks and comments. And it's also very interesting where, because this is the end of this piece that we are going over here. And then the author started off this chapter on frugality with the same verse: eat and drink, but waste not in excess. And well, I don't know how long have we been doing this, maybe a couple of weeks ago when we started, this verse, you know, just brought in some different meanings. But today, if I'm, while you were reading, the more I'm looking at it, it's unpacking some more in terms of really my reality here. I was also trying to understand in terms of, yes, this is what I do in this universe. Food is like very an obvious and general interaction with the universe that everybody has. And then with that, we can make lots of connections or relationships, or even deduce lots of meaning from it. So the first part, I think we can all confirm as human beings that we all eat and drink, but waste not in excess. So the wasting part, it's interesting because it's like, hey, it's a reminder to me, don't be wasteful. And then, you know, you start questioning, what do you mean? What am I wasting? And so going back to your point, Asifa, about wasting in terms of the experience or the opportunity which is given to me to acknowledge something, like you mentioned, like the level of consciousness or awareness about the bestower of the bounty. I think any little thing we are indulging in has to do with me really analyzing the case for myself, where I'm not wasting that opportunity. So if I'm having a delicious dessert, so don't waste it just for a temporary pleasure, but utilize it to really read yourself as far as what your needs are and how you are made in your ingredients as a human being, where we all have this tongue that is a doorkeeper, just was mentioned by the author with his second point here. And so really, am I utilizing all my tools and faculties for their true purpose, to connect to the source of my existence? So that's interesting. So then, but waste not in excess. And I'm thinking, hey, you know what? I know that I have to be more vigilant with things that I do. And then I was looking into this verse, and I was saying, what do you mean that I'm wasting, right? So I think sort of a little bit when we went through this, we answered what we waste. Usually we can waste our human faculties, we can waste the opportunities, and so on and so forth. But then I was also looking into, like, why is the whoever speaking to me in this verse, the creator of the universe, like, why do you even mention excess? Because if I'm wasting, then, you know, I'm wasting. So I don't know, waste not in excess. I was wondering, what do you all understand from this part, the excess part? Yes, so when people are wasting, so it's in excess. So Ali Murmur, I see your hand up. Go ahead, please.
There are some difficult concepts mentioned here, especially when our friend Asifa read the first paragraph. Puzzled me a lot, because it brings the subject of sincerity, hypocrisy, and being independent of others, and being thankfulness, and also not complaining. What are they? How are they related to frugality? Of course, the most important concept is, as far as our subject is concerned on frugality, is what is excess? Excess. Now, what is excess in terms of what? Excess. Quantitatively or qualitatively excess? What are they? As far as the first paragraph that we read today is concerned, it is not about excess, is not about quantitative value. It is about quantitative value. How do we understand this? I know it is a very difficult subject. I don't know how to deal with it, because let me read the first paragraph we read today. Also, the contentment arising from frugality. Now, the contentment, not that whatever is given to me is okay. No. Contentment must arise from frugality, not about the amount. This much I am given, okay, I am happy with it. No. The contentment must arise from frugality. It means following the principles of frugality. What is frugality? We have been studying that using the things benefiting from whatever is created, using them for a purpose, for the purpose of their creation. Why are they created? For example, why do you think these beautiful things on the earth are created? For example, there is a tree which doesn't grow any fruit. How can I be frugal in my relationship with this fruitless tree? I mean, not because it doesn't grow fruit, but it is created in a way that it doesn't grow fruit, but it grows, it is branches and leaves and flowers or whatever is created on it. How can I be frugal towards this tree? Oh, I mean, if there were some fruits, I would say, oh, eat as much as you need, no more, but there is no fruit. What shall I do with it? So, for example, if I see a cat or a squirrel, how can I be frugal in my relationship with the cat? Oh, these are big problems for me. It means if I am frugal, it means if I use the cat, when I see it, my sight capturing the cat, if I utilize this for the purpose of the creation of the cat and for the purpose of the creation of my sight, and also for the purpose of creation of my consciousness, that cat is created over there with certain qualities, and I am aware of the qualities of the cat. How can I be frugal about this relationship? What shall I do with the qualities I observe on the existence of the cat so that I will achieve frugality? It means I will accomplish the purpose of the creation of the cat, creation of my eyesight, and the creation of my consciousness. If I utilize all these tools the cat, my eyes, and my consciousness. These are the tools. And utilize them in order to achieve the purpose in the existence of these events, these things, the cat and my eye and my consciousness. I am frugal. If I'm not, I am doing something excess. It means I'm not frugal. I am wasteful. I am wasting the creation of the cat, creation of my eyesight, the creation of my consciousness. And in the example of fruitless tree, creation of the tree, because I looked at the tree and said, there is no fruit in it. I'm not going to eat it more or less. It has nothing to do with frugality. If I misunderstood frugality in terms of quantity, then I will just ignore the tree and go on my way. Go away on my way. So in this case, I would be wasting my power of sight, wasting the existence of the tree, and wasting my human feelings, especially my consciousness, my reasoning, because I have not utilized them. I have not used them. It is a very interesting concept that contentment must arise from frugality. It means whatever is created, I should utilize them and use them in order to understand the purpose of their existence and reach the conclusion that they are witnessing, they are demonstrating the qualities of their creator. If I achieve this, I would be really a frugal person. And I will be content with what is created out there. And I will be content with my creation because I will be utilizing them in order to understand the source of existence of all these items that I am interacting with. So if I am frugal, then the door of things will be opened in front of me. It means I will be thankful for the one who created the universe, for the one who created everything. It's an excellent way of understanding frugality. And if I am aware of this kind of frugality, this awareness will close the door of complaint. It means whatever is created out there, I will utilize them for the purpose of their existence and use them as a means of recognizing their creator and attaching my existence also to this creator and being thankful to him because he has given me the opportunity to get to know him so that my existence becomes meaningful as I realize that my existence belongs to the creator of the whole universe. What an excellent contentment. So I cannot complain about the conclusion. My existence belongs to the creator of the universe who must be an absolute being. How rich I become through this consciousness, this awareness. So I think we have to emphasize on the importance of this understanding of frugality and how we should be thankful, how we should save ourselves from falling into a complaining life, complaining about everything, not being satisfied with anything, and then also trying to understand what is the door of sincerity opening in front of us, and the door of hypocrisy is closing in front of us. It means it is closing so that we will not be hypocrite. What an interesting concept. What hypocrisy? What is it to do with frugality? I think we have to deliberate on these subjects even more. These are very, very interesting subjects for me. I think you should also contribute to these reflections.
Mashallah, Brother Ali. Thank you for sharing your takeaways from this paragraph. This point about contentment you brought up, it's I think it's in several points he's mentioned that, and I think also this third consequence also starts off with contentment, where the author is like totally emphasizing the contentment part, that like even he says somewhere like contentment give rise to self-esteem, and in some other point he was also mentioning that really like the whole greed contradicts with contentment, like we discussed before. So this emphasis on being content, and then again being content with what, like things I have, being content in my existence. That's what's going on here, because that's the human condition. We all question the purpose of our existence, and we all want to be content with this existence that we are experiencing. It could be in any form, and I like the part where you touched upon how frugality really has to do where I'm being in line with the way I'm created, or I'm being true to my human nature, or in other words, that's how I ought to be, where I utilize every event and experience to acknowledge my existence giver, or like the whole process, my neediness and who satisfies me, or even having any kind of interaction with, let's say, looking at the cloud. How is this whole phenomenon coming into existence? We're all endowed with the power of sight. And then the clouds are also given existence, and how is this interaction happening? We all are imparted with this feeling of joy and contentment when we look at anything, or like you were saying, a tree or a cat, but really like connecting everything to its source of existence would make me act in a frugal way. Otherwise I can just enjoy just like aimlessly looking at the clouds, or looking at a nice tree or flower or anything, but without sort of establishing a connection or a communication with the source of my existence, then I'm not acting in a frugal way. Rather, like you brought up the word hypocrisy, where the author is also mentioning. So then I'm acting in a hypocritical way, where I feel that the opposite of frugality would be hypocrisy. That's what I'm taking it as. But I'll be curious to know what others think on this part. And also looking into the last sentence of that middle paragraph that Hamim highlighted, the door of sincerity is opened and the door of hypocrisy closed. So like you were saying, that with the frugal attitude that paves the way for contentment, or sorry, was it the other way around? If contentment must arise from me acting in accordance with the way I'm made. And so the contented person is thankful, and insofar as he is independent of others due to his contentment, he does not seek their regard. So this is also interesting. I mean, the author mentioning about being independent of others due to his contentment. Like when I am able to connect everything to the source of existence, then in a way I'm detaching myself from the relying on worldly things, and because now I've found the source of existence. But let's just open up the floor and see what do people think about the last sentence, which is really related to what was said thus far. The door of sincerity is open and the door of hypocrisy closed. Do you really think that the opposite of frugality would be hypocrisy and vice versa? So I have a friend here who wants to share something. Go ahead, Asim.
Thank you. So just to, based on the comments that I'm hearing, so this is a very unique definition of frugality. So it has nothing to do with the quantities side of things, as if, you know, I'm being miser or save, but being economical kind of thing in terms of quantity. But this is a very different concept of what frugality is, in terms of, hey, are you paying attention and using whatever you're feeling, yourself, your senses, to the purpose that they are given for, in terms of, are you seeing whatever the experience that you are going through and making use of that for its intended purpose. So it has a very unique relation to how my soul, my spirit, my, you know, that makes me a human being, which is my human side, my feelings, how that is kind of lives in this universe, how that takes in. And the contentment is a feeling that I get based on how I feel my inner being, my state of being. How is it I see my, you know, myself and the universe around me? What is my worldview at looking and interacting with things? How does that come? So that is very, again, I was highlighting that again, a way of seeing what frugality kind of means. And then wastefulness also, as the comments were suggesting, is not again in terms of the quantity that you're wasteful, but it's in terms of the opportunity that you're getting. For example, the example was given of looking at the animal, or let's say a cat that was used, and basically using your feeling, your eyes, you know, that experience. Did you, or do I use that to make sense of, or to understand that this is something that is presented to me, there is some meaning behind it, or do I just waste that opportunity? So not using my feelings, my eyesight, whatever the things that I'm endowed with, I'm given in this world, and the events that I'm presented with for what they're intended for, is what constitutes wastefulness. So again, it's nothing to do with the quantity side of it. So now I'm interested in basically understanding how this frugality relates to sincerity, right? And the opposite of sincerity, which is hypocrisy. So that's not being frugal is what would lead to hypocrisy. So if I'm being myself, true to my nature, as Fariha and Brother Ali were saying, that using my feelings for their right purpose, then that ties into what sincerity is, because I'm not concerned with the quantity side, or what you know, the others might think of it, or I'm establishing my own myself, my human side to the one who is presenting all these things to me, the owner of the universe, the source of existence of these events. So that is what frugality is entailing, and then that's how the sincerity also, I think, will entail in terms of establishing that connection with your source of existence. And doing it for any other material or worldly purpose, or just wasting it, would constitute hypocrisy. That's to begin with, but again, this is to start the conversation, and again, somebody else can chime in on to continue this conversation.
This is interesting. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for sharing your comment as well. So, you know, this whole part about hypocrisy, and now I'm trying to connect it to frugality. So if I'm cheating myself in terms of just not looking at the underlying purpose or meaning to anything, or the reason why things are presented to me, then yeah, I'm cheating myself, because that's not in my human nature. So that becomes hypocrisy. This is how I would take it as. And so rather, the opposite of this would be to act in accordance with how I'm supposed to act as a human being, where I need to, bring everything at an existential level, and then try to relate my events and experiences to fulfill the purpose of my existence. So and I see Mariam, your hand is up. Thank you for being patient. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, I'm writing a note. Just a second.
Mariam, your hand is up. Do you want to speak, or you're just taking a little time to do so? At any time, feel free, inshallah. Okay, so, or if you want to say something, feel free, put it on the chat, and then raise your hand again, so we can all have the opportunity to speak, inshallah. Okay, so let's hear from other people as well. What do you all think thus far on the comments that were shared, and trying to understand how can I be sincere in my interactions with the universe. Go ahead, Dr. Ali. Brother Ali, your hand was up. Was that a mistake?
Mariam wanted to talk, I think. That's why I stopped.
It's all right. You can go first.
Okay. No, actually, Fariha and Asim touched upon the subject, and mainly for the foundations they established, I wanted to emphasize on the importance of this expression here. Content person insofar as he is dependent. Up. He is independent of others. Who is he here? Content person. Now, the content person is independent of others due to his contentment. Yeah, you touched upon the subject. I understand, and it was excellent approach. I just wanted to emphasize more on it. Independent of others, maybe independent of other human beings, or independent of other creatures. All creatures. How can we be independent of other creatures? Yes, we can use whatever they are created out there, but we can be either dependent on them or independent of them. How? I mean, I may have some hens, let's say, chickens, hens. When they lay eggs, I may say, oh, hens, you are producing the eggs, so I am very thankful to you. I am dependent on the hens. And frugal person, it means he uses everything, including his own qualities, in order to understand the source of existence of everything, including in the example of the existence of the hen and existence of the eggs. What we do, what I do, the content person do, he declares his independence of the hens and the eggs. Say, I'm not thankful to you. I am thankful to your creator, who is my creator. You are employed by him, by my creator. So he utilizes them, of course, for his life, but at the same time, he doesn't depend on the hen, on the eggs, but he establishes his existence, his being, on the creator of everything, including the hen, including the eggs, and himself or herself. So he declares independence of others. This is something to do with, I understood, that sincerity and hypocrisy. Of course, as it is stated, sincerity and hypocrisy is opposite of each other. So if we understand what hypocrisy is, we will understand what sincerity is in this context. Hypocrite person is described as the one who presents himself not exactly as he is, but as he is not. That is hypocrisy. For example, I am, let's say, I don't know, I am a poor guy, but I pretend to be a rich man. It's an hypocrisy. For example, I understand something, I don't understand something, but I pretend to have understood it. Hypocrisy. That hypocrisy means, as Fariha said, I took notes of it actually. Hypocrisy means cheating myself. It means I am treating myself as I am not as I am. It means I am cheating myself. It means I am contradicting the reality of myself. If I contradict the reality of the things, objects out there, my relationship with them will be a hypocrite relationship. That is called hypocrisy. For example, treating the hen as the producer of the egg, and I am contradicting the reality because even the hen in his or her existence, in its existence, declares that it is not me who is making the egg, but I am saying it is you who is producing the egg. That is hypocrisy, contradicting the reality. Sincerity means acting in accordance with what the reality is, accepting, confirming the reality of everything. That is the core of sincerity. To be consistent with the truth, with the reality of the things. If I am consistent with my own reality, it means I am sincere. For example, the meaning that I gather, I collect from the creation, from the things in the creation, and if I attribute these meanings not to the unconscious, needy to be created matter, but to the creator of the whole universe, maker of the whole universe, what I am doing, I am being sincere to the reality of the universe. That is why the Quran says, sincere religion, sincere belief, sincere understanding can only belong to the creator of the universe, who is called God. That is the core of sincerity, making the reality belonging or attributing the reality to the real owner of it, owner of the reality. My attitude will be a sincere attitude towards the creation, sincere attitude towards the creator as well, because I am being consistent with the truth. It means I am not cheating myself, I am not cheating the creation too. So, content person who is frugal person acts according to the purpose of creation. The purpose of creation, as we understand when we reflect on it, to point to the creator, to demonstrate the qualities of its creator. So this frugal person will be content with his existence as well as the existence of the others. So everything for him which are created, just created in order to help the person, conscious person, connect himself to the source of existence. That is a sincere relationship between me and my creator. And that is a sincere relationship between me and what is created out there. If I contradict this reality, I will be dependent on others. Others means on other creatures, and I will inevitably have a hypocrite relationship between me and the other creatures, because I am seeing them, or I am claiming them that they own their own qualities by themselves, which is not representing the truth. That is why frugality and sincerity goes along together with it, and wastefulness results in being hypocrite. That is how I understood this very dense and heavy paragraph, the first paragraph. It is very, very precious, heavy paragraph to understand, actually. I am trying to understand it. I hope you can help me even to understand better. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ali. I'm just trying to breathe in here, because this is just like a new dimension to look into things now. And I know we sort of talked about it in the past about frugality. Like, I don't know, like I cannot get my mindset out of this whole notion of, quality versus quantity. Yes, I live a frugal lifestyle. I act in accordance to, the way I'm supposed to be. But that's yeah, that's okay. That's like, you know, how we are, but we need to go more steps further in terms of our reasoning, which also is meshed in with our practical experiences, which involves like our whole being, or, you know, the spirit is also involved in all that. So that's just a very, yes, mind-boggling and at the same time very eye-opening in terms of, you know, just the author here is like talking to us about these different concepts, topics, but you know, it all boils down to, what am I doing in terms of connecting to my responsibility as a human being, and what do I do now? I mean, not as a duty, but like, you know, what is it? How am I supposed to act? I also am trying to avoid wordings like duty, responsibility. You know, it may seem like, oh man, it's a burden. No, it's not. But like, you know, what do I do with the experiences, with existence, and every like interactions that we do? So like getting out of this mindset of, you know, like I'm good, you know, I don't waste food, I'm good, I don't waste you know, money, I, you know, have like limited things, I'm very, what do you say, like, you know, I'm very minimal, you know, type of person, you know, just one backpack and that's it, I'm good to go. No. Yes, that's how we are, and people are, that's human nature. So, you know, we realize that we're made like that, but like, let's go more with it. Like, what do I do with one backpack roaming around the world? You know, no, there's more to the relationship that I have with the universe, the bird flying, the clouds, the tree, the food, people, friends. And I shouldn't cheat myself with any of these interaction, because I need to be independent from created things, as far as putting my hopes and trust into something is concerned, because you know, we're made in a way where we look for peace, contentment, we got like a security, happiness, some sort of confidence in our existence, and definitely created things, our friends, parents, nothing can provide that for us. They're just utterly dependent in their existence, just like you and I. And so so if I put my hopes and trust in things, people, created things, relationship, I know it's theoretically it's easy to say it like that, but like, hey, practically speaking, it's rough. It's and that's where the author, mashallah, is helping us you know, realize, and then we, you know, awaken our senses that, hey, you know, you got to make sure that you are connecting to the source of your existence, because things are just a means, and we sort of brushed upon as well in yesterday's discussion, but I think reminder is needed, and it is not repetition, but it's just like opening the book, but like reading a new chapter of it, but now it's the, you know, giving us a new level of everything, that how everything is a means, a vehicle, a messenger, letting me know that the message has been sent by a one, and that's the one that I'm dependent on. Yes, I'm independent from other created things because they are created like me, but we are all utterly dependent on the source of our existence to be given existence. So I really thought that the sentence that you made us highlight, he is independent of others due to his contentment, is something to really ponder over, in terms of, yeah, how can I be independent from others? Definitely, we all want to be content. And so I think it's also talking about existential contentment. I mean, which is the real contentment. Otherwise, yeah, other contentments, I mean, we do get happy or content with things, but it needs to be connected to an end goal, to make things meaningful here. So yeah, that was just really my highlights with what was shared, alhamdulillah. But let's see what others have to say. Please share out your excitements as well, express yourself out. It may help anyone else as well. Hatice Beisa, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for all the comments. I'm still digesting. And I'm just going to circle around what's been said in hopes of perhaps looking at it, the same thing from a different angle, maybe. So I was looking at the definition of hypocrisy, which says the practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. So I was thinking about, with the situation with the cat. I have the ability of sight, and I see a cat there, and my consciousness is there as well. And in seeing the cat, how am I then being a hypocrite? Kind of circling around what Brother Ali was saying. And I was thinking about, I guess, this, behaving in a way that doesn't conform with my, the definition says moral standards or beliefs, but with the way in which I've been created, or in other words, my createdness as a human being, or in other words, the reality of my needs. So even in something as normal as seeing a cat, for example, I have a need within me to make sure that that experience is purposeful, or it's meaningful, that it looks to something just in and of itself, I guess. It adds up to something. Otherwise, if in the case that I look at a cat, it's a funny example, but in my seeing of a cat, if I just say, oh, the cat is beautiful, or, oh, I want to pet it, or whatever the case is, if I do not, if I don't use my consciousness for the purpose it's been created, so if I don't reflect on the situation and say, what is the purpose of this relationship that I find between me and the cat, and my ability to see, and then this hyper consciousness about being aware of my own situation and being aware of the fact that I'm aware of my own situation. What does this all add up to? Otherwise, if it looks to just the situation itself, which I now I understand to be the quantitative aspect of things. So as in other words, the part of things that look to the universe itself, or to the situation itself, then I guess I could say, like, in a way, I gobble up the power of sight and the cat and my consciousness, and I bury it in the graveyard of past experiences that look to, like, a dead end, that look to nothing else. So I kill the cat, not literally, of course, and I kill my own sight, and I kill myself as well in that situation, because it doesn't add up to something. And if the experience that I have right now doesn't fulfill my need for meaningfulness, then that's a reflection of the entirety of my existence for me right then and there, which is unacceptable, I think, to the human being, because I have this innate need to make everything meaningful for myself, or not in terms of it looking to me, but meaningful insofar as the way I can make sense of things. So being sincere in recognizing my need to have a meaningful relationship with the created things, and my relationship with the created things are, of course, they encompass everything, including myself. And my relationship with one thing is an indicator or a reflection of my relationship with, again, everything as well. So with myself, so in the example that Brother Ali said, with the hen, then if I see the hen as the source of existence of the egg, or if I depend on it as it being the source of the egg or my sustenance, then I become a beggar, and I probably view other qualities within myself as myself being the source of, you know, my own intellect or my own abilities or whatever the case is. So even in my relationships with people, which, you know, it might be most apparent where, you know, I might have expectations, it's not to say not to have expectations, but not to have expectations insofar as being aware of the fact that, you know, I have this need to have a meaningful relationships, to be in meaningful relationships with people, with things, with my own self, with existence essentially. And even if these things are things like that I can count, they're quantitative, then I can still have this qualitative relationship with them as well, insofar as they look to the absolute source of existence, as was described before. So sincere being one who's aware of their own reality and the nature of their needs, and thereby not morphing one's own understanding of the relationships that they share with the things, so that they do not waste both. You know, I think wastefulness can be extended to, I think, on one hand, of course, like the physical things themselves don't waste, but at the same time, and more essentially or more fundamentally, not wasting, I think it was Awesome who said it, not wasting that opportunity to connect myself or to become aware of my reality, that I am a recipient of an absolute one. Sorry for the long comment.
Jazakallah khair, Hatija Beza. Beautiful comment. Yep, it helps to solidify the concept a bit better as well. It's good to hear from different people, different voices. People put things in their own wordings. You know, it enhances everyone's understanding. So with that, let's see if there's anyone else who wants to share something. Feel free to express yourself out. Or if you have any question or comment, go ahead. And I remember Mariam. Just a second. Let me ask my friend Mariam. Do you still have your question, or you want to share something? Would love to hear from you. If not, then you can put later. Cause go ahead, Mariam.
So I wasn't going to say something too important. It was just an add-on to another comment. But I heard someone talking about not using what is given to you properly. And I just wanted to add on to that, because I had watched a video about a caveman, and he had found an iPhone, but he didn't know what it was for. So instead of using it for what we do normally, he used it as a hammer, and he never questioned what it really was for. He never searched to see if there was more to the phone. And one day a man came and gave him instructions, and he didn't accept that he was wrong. And so he just continued using the phone as a hammer when he could have used it for much more. And that sort of reminded me of what we were talking about, like he was sort of blocked out the truth. He didn't accept that he was wrong, even though he could have used the phone for much more.
Thank you for sharing this beautiful, interesting story, actually. Wow. So what's the moral of the story then? What do you make out of this story now in light of what we're discussing now? Go ahead, Mariam.
Sorry, I left my hand up.
Okay, good. So I'm glad you brought up that little story about this person not knowing what resources are for, and someone instructs them that this is used for this and this. So what's the moral of the story? Does anyone care to share on that?
I can comment on that beautiful comment Mariam made. So I feel like a caveman now based on how you shared, Mariam. Thank you so much. You know, like if I use the iPhone as a hammer, I'm gonna, because my question was also tying the concept of contentment, which leads to gratefulness or being thankful, and being a complaining person in my attitude, in my behavior, in my how, you know, not being content with my reality. So yeah, of course, if I use the iPhone as the hammer, I'll be complaining a lot. I'm like, what is going on? This is not, it's breaking up. It's not doing the thing it's supposed to do. So yeah, so there is a good relationship in terms of how your story ties to complaint, because it tells me also how, as a human being, I have to use myself and the creation around me that for its intended purpose, what they are for. I have to really investigate and look at it and see, hey, you know, why, if I see the hen or the cow, I observe its behavior, what's going on. Yeah, the hen, there are some eggs being laid. And I look at the hen, hey, do you know how to make this egg? Do you know how to shape all this? It's like something amazing, beautiful that is coming out. Do you know all of that? So there is that investigation and that sense of using my feelings and my reasoning, my human side, to question all that and really trying to understand what is going on. And as the discussion, we've been talking about how if we don't use that purpose, we don't connect them to actually the reality of the things or the true side, what they refer to, or where these things or these events are coming from, to the one who is in charge, who is the maker of all this universe and all the things around us, then yeah, we are being wasteful and we are just not content. We won't be content with that kind of attitude, because we'll realize that, hey, if I see that the hen is the source of the eggs, and then I see that hen will die and everything is just a temporary kind of thing and within the universe, then of course I will be pretty sad with that and unhappy. But that will wake me up in terms of realizing, hey, knock knock, this is not, look at the reality of things, don't, this is how I will come to my true nature and realizing this, what the things actually are referring to. So that was my take on what Mariam said. Thank you.
Oh, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for sharing. But you wanted to say something else as well, didn't you? Did you want to say something else, bro? I see Ali Murmur. Your hand is up. Go ahead. Wait, Ali Murmur, I saw your hand up. If you're speaking, go ahead, please.
Sir, we have been discussing very serious subjects. I'm very pleased that this discussion is taking place and I am a part of it, and I'm listening to you as well. One thing attracted my attention. While we are talking about the theory of anything, for example, we are trying to understand what frugality is really. what hypocrisy, what sincerity is. So while we are establishing the principles of thinking theoretically, we have to speak in terms of black and white. It means we have to make the case absolutely clear. This is the truth. The opposite side is the wrong and false. But in practical life, it doesn't work in this way. For example, while we are trying to define what frugality is, we said frugality has nothing to do with quantitative part of the matter. Only frugality is related to qualitative aspect of the thing, which I agree and I understand. It must be put in this way. But how about the quantitative side of the matter? It means, for example, I understand that whatever is created out there, let's talk about eggs. You know, as far as I remember, I recall, I understand and accept and confirm that eggs are created and presented to me as a means of nourishment by my creator. So I can use eggs as much as I want. It means number of the eggs does not matter. Is it the case? In practical terms, I don't think it is. So in practical terms, when we apply the theory, what I understand now, I have to use, for example, the eggs for the purpose of its existence. What is the purpose of its existence? To realize that whatever the qualities manifest on the existence of the egg, on the egg, cannot belong to the material side of the egg, but the one who gave existence to the matter and the qualities, everything, to the egg. I understood that. One of the qualities of the egg manifested, one of the qualities manifested on the egg is nourishment, to get to know the creator as the nourisher. That is fine. If I use one egg in order to receive the nourishment, so that I will acknowledge the nourisher, and he is the creator, is mercifully, compassionately nourishing me. One egg, I appreciate. Two, I do appreciate. Three, maybe. Four, I start not feeling pleasant about the nourishment side of the egg. I feel full. If I say, no, number is not important, go on eating eggs, 5, 6, 7, because we said number is not important. At the end, I start not seeing the mercy, but punishment, pain in my stomach. I won't be able to appreciate the mercy of my creator anymore. In practical terms, the number, the amount, the quantity of the egg matters. You see, the theory and practice is different. So theoretically, quantitative aspect of the matter is not important. As I see that, for example, one tree produces billion pollens. I don't know how they are called. to reproduce its kind as a means of reproduction. I don't know how they are called. Are they called pollens? If someone helps me, I will appreciate it. But only 2 or 3. Very hard, thank you. Only 2 or 3 of them may grow. The millions of them seem to be waste. No, they become a, how is it called? Manure. I don't know how is it pronounced. It is the fertilizer for other beings, compost for other beings, and also demonstrating that the Creator does not find it difficult at all to create trillions of them in order to fulfill other purposes, rather than each pollen must grow into another tree. That is not the order of the universe. We know that. So we have to understand that. As far as practical side of the theory is concerned, quantity is not important, but when we understand that the things are created in order to demonstrate the qualities of their creator, we have to be respectful in our practical life that the qualities of the creator will be clear to me, that it is the result of his mercy, it is the result of his wisdom, it is the result of his guidance, it is the result of his reminder, etc. It is the result of his compassionateness, so that I will experience these aspects of the qualities of the Creator in my relationship with the created beings. So when it comes to the practice, the quantity matters. Quantity also must be taken into account. That is why if someone does not respect the limits of the quantity, it means he or she, this person is not appreciating the quality of the things as referring to the Creator, and the Creator is being really merciful to us. It means they work hand in hand in practical terms. Quality and quantity work together in practical terms. So we should be careful to take into account the quantitative side of the things as well, so that we have to be frugal in understanding the meaning of the existence of the things, but at the same time, we have to be mindful of our relationship with them, so that we should not waste their quantity as well. I think this matter is worth to be noticed. I wanted to share it with you as I felt it throughout the discussion today, which was very fruitful. I'm very happy with this discussion today. Thank you very much. As usual, every day. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, happy to hear that comment. And thank you for bringing this point up about quality versus quantity as well, because yeah, I mean, I was just getting excited that, yeah, it's all about quality side of things, but no one can disregard the quantity aspects of anything as well. So just let's say I want to become, I don't know, a lawyer. I need to go to law school. There's certain number of years. I mean, there's a quantity aspect of it involved within the order in the universe, and then within that, you keep going on with the number of years that you want to master in something. But yeah, I mean, this is interesting as well with the practical side of things. Yes, although I'm gonna think a little more on it, but like the but this analogy is helping me out a little bit. I think depending also on one's understanding and how the awareness or consciousness at that moment as well, because like even, you know, like to apply the theory in practice, yeah, it's good to have lots of opportunities for me to practice things and become better at it, just like an athlete would keep practicing until he or she masters the skill. So same thing, there's nothing wrong with having a quantity side of the practice of anything. You know, it makes you better, it ameliorates you, and also you will miss a lot of it. You won't even attempt all of it. I don't know if any of you have ever trained or have seen, you know, how tennis players, they train, you know, they have all these balls coming in. A lot of time you'll just miss it, but sometimes you're able to, you know, go with the flow and then maybe strike a few balls back. But that's generally how the order in the universe is set up. So thank you for bringing that up. Alhamdulillah. Is there anyone else who would like to say something? Hatice, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just one note came to my mind as I was listening to the last two comments about how, you know, I guess in how, you know, quantity and quality go hand in hand. In following the order of the universe, as far as the quantitative aspect of things are concerned, on a physical level, that's a mercy for me, right? So with the eggs example, in eating the correct amount of eggs and not overdoing it or underdoing it, I follow the sort of order, and there is ease and pleasure in that. So that's one sort of mercy. And that allows me to be frugal and act sincere to my own creational purpose in existence. But also, I was also thinking about the fact that, you know, when there, at least for myself, when there's sometimes an overabundance of things for me, then I easily take them for granted and I don't reflect on it. So if I only need an egg instead of 10 eggs, just to make a stark contrast, then just having that one egg is not only good for me physically, but is also allows me to better be able to use my consciousness to reflect on the qualities of the egg. Otherwise, if I overeat, or whatever the case is, whether it's an egg or something else, if I materially, quantitatively overdo it as well, then in a way I'm setting myself up to be less likely to consciously, I guess, reflect on the qualities, the manifestation of qualities that, you know, that I experience or that I interact with in that situation. That's not to say that one cannot reflect on their existence if they're given many things, but I guess in my utilization of those things, if I only use as much as I need, that I think practically speaking will also allow me to be able to reflect on it and use my consciousness with a greater sense of awareness, as opposed to taking things for granted.
Jazakallah khair, Hatice Beza. Thank you for your comment. Yeah, so it's all about balancing out this whole quality and quantity aspect of anything. And yeah, I think it's all about also one's consciousness and acknowledgement in terms of being true to their human nature. I know this egg example is just a little haywire. I remember once my brother sharing a video about this chef who was making like the best fluffy omelet with like 10 or 12 eggs. And I mean, obviously, the more you use, the better it comes out. So I think you have to make the judgment on or and on that. And with this, it is 5:30, but we'll.
From theory, you go to practice.
From theory, you go to practice. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so that will be the lesson for today.
What are Mariam's notes?
Oh, Mariam's note as well. Yes, I was just saying it's 5:30, but we'll open up the floor for any last comments from anyone. If not, then we're so eager to listen from Mariam. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. All right, Mariam, the floor is yours. Please share out your notes.
Okay. So my notes for the third consequence was, one second. Okay, so, okay, so my notes for the third consequence, I didn't have that much, and I had a lot of word definitions in my notes, but the reason why I didn't have that many was because I feel like they all just pointed to one small thing, so I just sort of like split them up. But my first note was that contempt is being happy with your situation, being satisfied. Hypocrisy means being contradictory. Not using what you are given properly is what causes wastefulness. If you don't search for answers, to why you are in this world and what everything's purpose is, you are cheating yourself because it is against your nature. Frugal means someone who does not waste, or one who is sincere and uses things for the purpose of its creation. You are dependent on your creator. This was the example that Ali Dada gave us. Say there's a chicken. The chicken gives you eggs, and you become dependent on the chicken for eggs. In your mind, the chicken is the source of the eggs. When you are in this mindset, you become a slave. So like the correct mindset would be that your chicken gives you your creator gives you the chicken for it to serve its purpose, to give you eggs. But through the chicken, you have to connect with your creator, understanding that he is the one who gives you the chicken in the first place, and he is the one who gives the chicken the ability to give you eggs. And that was my last note.
Mashallah. Thank you, Mariam, for sharing these beautiful gems. Really helps at least make the case clear for me. You have lots of applauses virtually and here as well. I don't know if you can hear us, but there's some people cheering outside as well. Hooray, how cool is that? All right, with this, let's see if there's any other last comment from anyone. Anyone else? Do you guys have notes or one or two key points you want to share? If not, no pressure. But yeah, thanks for listening in, whoever joined in. So here's the deal. Next week, we can pick up from, and here I was hoping that we will finish the frugality, but you think we kind of finished? Awesome. Okay. I don't know. What do you all think? Can we sort of take a vote? Please raise your hand if you want to continue with frugality. Raise your hand. Everybody has to vote. I mean, come on. I know everybody's a registered voter. Raise your hand if you want to continue with frugality next Sunday. Raise your hand. Okay, no. So everybody's quiet and silent. It means we're, alhamdulillah, pretty much, let's be frugal about frugality. So let's move on to sincerity, inshallah. So now Okay, so this is a consensus. We are going to move on with sincerity next Sunday, inshallah. All right, wonderful. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you all again for joining in and people who contributed. Mariam, Ali Murmur, Asim, Asfa, and pretty much everyone else. It's a long list, so, and Hatice Beza. And yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana innaka anta alimul hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru dawahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati sirah surat al-Fatiha. Ameen. Again, thank you all for listening in as well and just joining us in this afternoon. Very much appreciated. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaykum assalam. Inshallah, I'll see you next week. Next Saturday.